Alright, CNT120, we're working on our Chapter 3 lab. We're now on to the transport layer, looking at our port numbers. Hopefully you remember from your reading, any of the applications we're running, whether it be our browser, email, or any other type of communication going on the network, opening a web page, opening an email, getting an IP address, that sort of thing. Any of those applications are going to have an associated port number with them. And that's how our computer knows when we have multiple different chunks of data coming in the door of our computer, so to speak. That's how it knows to take, oh, this chunk goes to my browser, oh, this chunk goes to my email, by looking at these port numbers. So we're going to look at a couple port numbers on some traffic that we have. So on our Philadelphia laptop, we are going to do some browsing, and we're going to try to capture some of this traffic. Now, if it helps, sometimes it's helpful to do this. If you open your sniffer here and again clear the queue, that clears all that out. That way anything we're looking at now is new. If that helps you do that, it helps make it easier to see. Go ahead and do that. I cleared that out, and now I'm going to open my Philadelphia laptop, and I'm going to open the browser, and I'm going to open the web server using the IP address. So I'm going to open up the Philadelphia laptop over here. I'm going to open up my browser. And since I know the IP address of the web server 30.4, I can open that web page using that IP. So we'll do 192.168.30.4, and we will open this web page. It might take a second the first time you do it because it actually does need to find its path and everything else. There should be a good joke here if you want to read that. I'll let you read that on your own. Now that we've loaded that, this sniffer should have captured that data transfer of me asking for the web page and the web page being sent to my computer. That's what we're going to look at. So let's open the sniffer, and we want to look for the TCP and HTTP messages in there. So let's open up our sniffer over here, and we are going to look for these TCP messages, the HTTP, and the TCP messages. And hopefully you remember with TCP, it's going to do that three-way handshake for any reliable data communications. So we would actually see a couple TCP messages here first, and then the web page being loaded. That's what we should be seeing. So let's highlight one of these, and we want to look at the TCP header, and we want to look at the source destination IP and the source and destination port. So let's open the very first one that we have here. I'll make this a little bit wider. Again, here's your Ethernet header, source and destination IP, almost said IP, source and destination MAC address. Okay, so the PC, if you will, and then going to the web server. This was the laptop going to the web server. That's what I should be seeing if I trace those out. Here's my IP header, source IP, there's the laptop going to the web server. I'm going to keep going now. TCP, we see a source port of 1025, destination of port 80. Now, the port 80 should make sense. When we are communicating with a web server, it's using port 80, or if we're doing HTTPS, it'll be 443. So in this example, it's just basic web server. So it's communicating with 80. That's the destination. That is the web server. We're like, hey, web server, knock, knock, knock. We're trying to communicate with you. So this port number would be port 80. That's the web server service that's running. This source port 1025, that is coming from our browser. Now, in real life, this number would be changing. It's usually a lot higher number. It's usually in like, 10, 12,000 kind of thing. And if I keep doing this, this number is going to change because it's kind of like a new session each time I'm doing. So this number would change. Even in this lab, you might get a higher or lower number than this when you're doing that. And that's okay because these are dynamic port numbers. They are not the same every single time. But this destination, because we're talking web server, should be the same every time. That's what I should be seeing. So what we're going to do is let's capture the contents of this source port and destination port. So I'm going to open up my text file, and let's go down here to, we're going to put a note that this is our layer 4, and we're going to say TCP port numbers, and we're going to copy in the source and destination. So here's your source port, and then we're going to paste in the destination port. So this again is coming from my browser, and yours might be 1026, 1027, that's fine. And the destination would be port 80. We're talking to the web server, so that should be port 80. And we'll paste that guy in there as well. Now, if I happen to, I'm not sure I have you do that. No, I don't. That's all right. If I happen to look at the next one in line, I would see, I'm going to click on the next one down here, I would see these port numbers flip-flop because it's coming from the web server back to my browser. And if I click the next one, it should flip-flop again, coming from my PC back to the web server. Okay, so these are going to flip-flop depending on the direction it's going. So if you happen to see those backwards in your capture, that's not a huge deal. Don't let that panic you. Okay. Now, while we're here, I didn't have you do this. This is as much as you need to do. I'm going to save that. Okay. And now what I am going to do, just to show you port numbers, this is just something a little fun on the side, so you can do this if you want to, but you do not have to. I'm going to open my sniffer, and I'm going to edit my filters. I'm going to try to pick up some DHCP traffic. So I'm going to close that out now. Close that out. And I'm going to go to my laptop here, and I'm going to cycle this IP address so it actually talks to the DHCP server. And again, this IP address might stay the same, which it did, which is fine, but I actually asked the server, can I keep using this IP? And the server responded, yeah, go ahead and keep using that IP. But the important part is this now has captured that DHCP traffic. So if I look at this DHCP traffic, what I'll see, okay, here's my Ethernet header. Okay, source address coming from a PC broadcasting out. Here's the source IP. It's like, okay, I don't have an IP. Can you give me one? Destination is being broadcast out. But if I look at the port field, I see 6768. Those are the two ports associated with DHCP. Those are the two ports associated with DHCP. So as I look at different applications, as I look at different programs running, I will see these port numbers change. That's the bigger picture I want you to see. Okay, so again, this was just bonus. You did not need to do this. Just showing you if you were interested. Okay, I'm going to save my packet tracer. I'm going to save my text file so I have my progress. And I'm going to, in the next part, we're going to take a look at some domain names.